What do you want to be when you grow up? Think about it. What do you want to be when you grow up? I mean, this is a question that every single one of us at one point in our life has been asked. What do you want to be when you grow up? If I could go into your minds, I'm sure some of you would say an engineer, a pharmacist, a doctor. And then some crazy person, probably a 9-year-old, would probably say something like, I want to be a police officer. And then it's time to say, you're not serious, you better be an engineer, a pharmacist. And, but at the end of the day, what you find is that most of the answers would be something related to an occupation, right? But when John Lennon of the Beatles was asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? John Lennon simply said, I want to be happy. That was it. He just wanted to be happy. But his teachers did not accept the answer happy. Imagine yourself in primary school or secondary school. They ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you write happy. Your teacher will probably give you a slap or give you a beating or something like that. But John Lennon said he wanted to be happy. And his teacher said, what do you mean by happy? You must not understand the question. And John Lennon's response is classic. And it's one of the reasons why I'm speaking here to you today. Because John Lennon said, and I quote from him, he said, they told me that I did not understand the question. And I told them that they did not understand life. And for years, our educational system has not understood life. They teach us how to integrate, differentiate, permutate, do whatever, but they never show us how we can apply that to real life. Over and over again, that is what they teach us. The intelligence, how to get the good grades, how to be top of the class, how to get the best jobs. That is the focus of our educational system, especially in Nigeria. That's why when someone comes up and says they want to be a police officer, their dad is going to tell them, no, I want you to be an engineer, a pharmacist, a medical doctor. But John Lennon's answer was different. He wanted people to be happy. Not just himself to be happy, but happy. And that's what education should be about. How you can get a degree and make people happy. And it reminds me of a question that I saw in primary school. And it said this. And I want you to write it down if you want, or just I'll repeat it over and over again. But it says this. Ada has 8 sisters. Right? 6 of Ada's sisters, due to abuse at home, violence, whatever, they run away. Of those 6, 3 of them die out of poverty, malnutrition, whatever. How many sisters does Ada have left? I'll ask the question again. Ada had 8 sisters. Right? 6 of those sisters ran away due to abuse, whatever at home. And out of the 6, 3 of them died out of malnutrition and poverty. How many sisters does Ada have left?
None.
Right? Don't worry, just hold on. I will come to the answer later. Before I tell you the answer, I would tell you a story. The story is about a little boy in primary 1. That's me. When I was in primary 1, my parents were very, very worried. They were worried because I just failed my maths exam. And I failed it because I flipped my minus signs with my plus signs. So when I saw 3 plus 2, my answer, instead of me writing 5, I wrote 1. And that was a guaranteed failure for my primary school exam. And I remember that it was a big deal because the teacher called my parents. And it was my dad that showed up. Now, when my dad takes time to get out of work and come and sit down with the teachers, then you knew something was up and something was wrong. So I was really worried, I was really scared when my dad showed up. And I remember that day because he came with a Peugeot 505. That was the only car that had air conditioners amongst the cars we had. So I was really excited but sad at the same time. And I remember him having a long discussion with the teacher. And I remember going into the car and my dad going on and on about me needing to improve my grades and me needing to step up. And this was me in primary 1, 5 or 6 years old. I just failed a maths exam, and the biggest irony of it all was that if the teacher went out of their way to reverse the minus and plus signs, they would have seen that I got the answers right. But I soon came to realize that in the Nigerian educational system, you didn't have 50 shades of gray, you had 1 shade of black. And that shade of black was that you were intelligent and you passed. Nobody cared about the in-betweens. And I laughed when I look back at that day because Primary 1 shouldn't be a level that parents are getting worried about their children's performance. But my dad was really worried. I have spoken to several schools, and I have situations where somebody will come up to me and say, my daughter, she used to come first in class, and now she's coming 4th or 5th. What's happening? And I'm like, why are you worried? This is a 12-year-old, this is a 13-year-old. Why are we so addicted to intelligence? And parents go out of their way to do whatever they can to ensure that their children are intelligent, that their children are smart. So they put us into extra lessons, they give us extra plugins. If you've been there, you say yes. Yes. Extra lessons, extra plugins. They do whatever they can. I mean, in some cases, they fast and pray about it. A girl, she was doing medical, a friend of mine, I was talking to her, she was meant to be a medical doctor and she found out it wasn't for her, so she dropped out. And she said her mom was fasting and praying that the enemies that caused her to become a medical doctor will not manifest themselves again. But we do everything, and it reminds me of a young gentleman. He's now a business executive. His name is Laksu. See, Laksu had the same problem that I had, and that a lot of people have, is that we're slow learners. We don't learn at the same pace as everybody. We don't memorize. I don't have a great memory. But Laksu grew up in a Chinese family, and you know that they are very strict about education. And he was somebody that was an introvert. He was a cautious learner. He was a slow learner. And his parents wanted more. They wanted him to push himself. They wanted him to be the best at what he did. So they did what every Nigerian parent would do. They disciplined him, they screamed at him, they shouted at him. They didn't let him go out and play with friends. They just were very strict with him, but it did work. He still wasn't making the grades. So one day, they came and put him at the kitchen table, and this was grade 3. Grade 3 is, I believe, primary 3 in Nigeria, probably 7 or 8 years old. And they put a plate in front of him, and they took a piece of meat, the size of a fist, normal fist, my fist, and placed it on the plate, and it went splat all over the place. Okay, I just added the all over the place for effect. But it landed splat on the plate. And he looked at it, and he found out that what was in front of him was the brain of a cow. According to the Chinese, the brain of a cow was the cure for stupidity. So they made him, and the irony and the funny part of it is the cow is one of the dumbest animals, but you believe that. And so they made him eat the raw brain of a cow every single weekend for an entire year. Did it make him any smarter? No. Didn't make a difference. You know, yesterday when I blogged the first part of this speech, I said that I don't think I've seen anything like that happen in Nigeria. All we do is fast, we pray, we push through to be successful. But someone said no. I know somebody that was made to eat raw chicken and gizzard so that it would pass. And she said that they became smart and the raw chicken and gizzard must have worked. And it's crazy. Why are people so really just addicted to being intelligent? As in, or doing whatever they can to make their children intelligent. It really is interesting. You know, so you have somebody like Sue, who is being pushed to be intelligent. And that pushes us to do things that we don't normally do. From the parents that push you into extra classes, the prayer, the fasting, the teachers that put pressure on you, and eventually it comes down to the students. How many of you have taken the JAM exam here? Yes, I took it. And I can never forget that exam. And the reason why I can't forget the exam isn't because of what was written on the paper, but what was happening around me. There was this girl that sat next to me. Sorry, I take that back. That slept next to me. Because throughout the exam, she was sleeping. And I was wondering, I was like, this girl is really not going to pass this exam. I was even tempted to show her some of my exam questions just so that she could pass. But she was knocked out. She couldn't care less about the exam. And even when the invigilator came out and said, 15 more minutes left, she was still sound asleep. And then all of a sudden, like an internal alarm had gone off in her system. She got up and she went to the toilet or restroom. She went somewhere. I don't know, maybe the god of JAM exams or something like that. All I know is that she came back with a piece of paper in her hand and she started shading in the answers.
Wow.
She didn't know the answers, and I was just watching in amazement. I was in computer. I was just watching in amazement, and she finished the exam before me. I probably would have finished the exam before her if I wasn't looking at her so much. And she finished the exam before me. And when I look at that situation, and the irony is that she's probably in a university. She probably ended up going to a university better than I did, because I got 213 or 200 and something. And I studied hard. And I don't think that was enough for me to get into any engineering school there in Nigeria. But she's probably in a university, probably a doctor treating somebody's child, because she has been pushed to the extreme that if you're not intelligent, if you don't push yourself, you can't succeed. And she does whatever she can to be successful, and she ends up cheating. So the extremes start pushing us to do things that we wouldn't normally do under normal circumstances. But the thing about extremes is that it has the good and the bad side. Because the good side of it is that because Nigerians are pushed so much to be successful, you have a lot of Nigerians that when they go into foreign universities, we succeed. You turn to Bella Nigeria, you turn to any newspaper, and you see a Nigerian, the youngest electrical engineer, the youngest this, the youngest PhD, the youngest masters. It shows. So it's no surprise that in a recent study done by the Rice University, they found out that Nigerians in America are one of the most educated people in the US. More educated than Asians, more educated than whites. 4% of Nigerians have PhD degrees. 17% have master's degree, and 34% have bachelor's degrees. I remember my mom called me up one day and she said, "When are you going to do your advanced degree?" I said, "No, I'm not really interested in masters." And she's like, "No, I'm not talking about masters, I'm talking about your PhD." And I'm like, "No, for what?" Every Nigerian is just addicted to getting those degrees, to intelligence, to do this, and it's blocking us. That's why you have musicians that have law degrees in Nigeria. You rarely see it, and it's not a bad thing. I'm not telling you don't go to school or anything. I'll get in trouble with the Minister of Education. Go to school, but it becomes ridiculous after some time. You have musicians with law degrees. I'm sure we have beggars, with law degrees. We're really pushing to get degrees. That's why Nato C says he's the only MC with a MSc. That's a great thing, but you never hear 50 Cent talk about a degree. John Mayer having a degree, but it's because of the nature. We're really pushed to get those degrees. The question I ask is this: if degrees were directly proportional to the GDP of a nation, or directly proportional to the economic well-being of a nation, Nigeria will be up there. But we are not. And my question is simply this: why? Why is it that Nigerians, with all the education we have, the PhDs, the MSCs, everything, why is it that we are here where we are? Why is it that the roads are the way they are? Why is it that people are living in poverty despite the fact that we have so much money? We're the 6th largest supplier of oil to the United States. Why? And does it have anything to do with the question, how many sisters does Ada have? I'll say the question again. Ada had 8 sisters. When I say had, I was like had 8 sisters, right? 6 of them ran away due to malnutrition, whatever. They ran due to abuse or whatever. They ran away, Sha. And out of those 3, out of those 6, 3 of them died from poverty, malaria. Whatever, they died. How many sisters does Ada have left? If you think she had 0 sisters left, raise up your hand. No more sisters. Okay? If you think she had 2 sisters left, raise up your hand. You raise your hand up for 0 and 2. Okay, someone else. If you think she had 5 sisters, raise up your hand. 5 sisters left. Okay? If you think she still has 8 sisters left, raise up your hand. Okay, so 1 person, 5. Okay. And if you're like, I don't care, I don't know what the answer is, raise up your hand. Thank you. Alright, so you want to know how many sisters that I had, right? Oh, they don't want to know. Okay, so the talk is over. You want to know how many sisters that I had? Yeah. Alright. In primary school, Ada would have 2 sisters. The reason is that in primary school they teach us the basics. 8 minus 6 is 2. She had 8 sisters, 6 of them ran away, 2. But in secondary school, when we ask that question, our thinking changes, right? Because we know that we're not going to ask such a simple question. There's probably going to be a trick somewhere. If Ada had 8 sisters, 6 of them ran away, right? That means she has 2 sisters still at home, right? And out of those 6, 3 died. So that means she has 3 plus 2, 5 sisters, right? We had a lot of fights. But then we get to university, and then somebody, because when I said it, someone said had, right? I said Ada had 8 sisters. Based on English and what they've taught us, if they say had, it's past tense, which means that Ada no longer has 8 sisters. So the answer would be 0. But then a psychology major might come and argue and say that Ada had 8 sisters, because even though her sisters have died or run away, they're still her sisters, right? Right? I mean, you're always going to have a father, right? Right? Yes or no? Yeah. But then we might have a lawyer in university that might say, depending on who pays him more, either the English major or the psychology major, say that she has 0 or 8, depending on who he's arguing for, right? Right?
Yes.
This is the problem with our system. Because the key thing is not the answer. You know, the people who would change a nation aren't the people that would get the answer to that question, or the people that would argue the answer to the question or convince people about the question. The people that would change a nation are the ones that ask the questions, and this is the question. Why is it that Ada's sisters had to run away from abuse? Why is it that Ada's sisters that ran away had to die of poverty, malnutrition, malaria? Why? But for years, our educational system simply teaches us to answer the questions, to get the right answers. And that is what we're obsessed with, get the right degrees, but we never find a way to apply it to our social lives, to our community, to make a difference. The people that would change the nation are the lawyers that would say, how do I write a bill or a law that would help people and make life better for them, make them happier? How would I be somebody that would make a change in somebody's life? How can I be an engineer that will build something such that it doesn't pollute the Niger Delta versus making money for a big oil company? Those are the people that change the nation. It's not the one that focuses on the questions or the answers, because you've heard what I've said. There are probably a lot of answers to that question. But the key thing I want you to focus on is not the answer, because the answer doesn't help anybody. It's the circumstances. That is what is important. That is why you have a nation where politicians, intelligent, unintelligent, whatever we might call them, can drive through a state and see people living in abject poverty and not feel a push to do anything about it. They would drive by it and go into their houses and everything. And it's because we have assumed that because somebody's intelligent and because someone is successful, that they're going to somehow go back and start helping out their community. We need to deliberately and intentionally teach people about social responsibility at an early time. A lot of you know about Nuhu Ribadu, right? Nuhu Ribadu in 2004, around when he just started with EFCC being the chairman, he went to see the Inspector General. And when he went to see the Inspector General, the Deputy Inspector General, not the main Inspector General, he went into the office and he walked logically to the elevator. And the reason why he went to the elevator was because the Deputy Inspector General stayed on the 6th floor. Nobody wants to walk. I just walked up 4 flights of stairs and I was passing out. So he went to the elevator because he wanted to see the DIG, but he pressed the button and it wasn't working. And an officer next to him told him that, oh, the generator is fault. That's why the elevator is not working. Because the power, of course, you know how NEPA does, wasn't on. And the generator that every single federal building typically has wasn't working. Yeah. At least that's what the officer said. So Nuhu Ribadu had to walk physically up 6 flights of stairs. By the time he got to the top, he was exhausted, but his exhaustion was nothing compared to what he saw in the Deputy Inspector General's office. What he saw was a man stripped down with trousers and his singlet, sweating profusely and trying to fan himself in abject heat. Ribadu was upset. I mean, imagine you going to your principal's office with your parents and you see your principal with his shirt off in his singlet or her singlet, and he's sweating profusely. It's embarrassing. This is the Deputy Inspector General's office, and he's sweating profusely. So everybody is tired. It's like, what is going on? Why is it there is no light? And why is your generator not working? Because we know that we've given you money for a generator set and for diesel. And the guy said, the DIG, he was, shocked and everything. And he said, that it's not that the generator is fault, it's that we don't have diesel. And Rivaldo said, what happened to the diesel money? And he said, the diesel money disappeared. We leave the disappearance to your imagination. It disappeared. So Rivaldo is curious now, and he asks, what about the Inspector General? Is he living in the same situation as you? And he said, no. The Inspector General has a special generator set that powers only his penthouse office. So while people are sweating, he's in a penthouse office with a generator and lights on. Now, this is not an unintelligent person. It's a very intelligent man. His name is Tafa Balogun. He has several degrees. He has a political science degree, and he has a law degree. Right? But instead of him to take money that was given to him to help people out, he was siphoning it off. And all he cared about was that his generator set was working in his office. He couldn't care about other people. And he's an intelligent person. A year later, Tafa Balogun pleaded guilty to stealing, because I don't want to say fraud, he's stealing 13 billion naira. Part of money that should have been used to fuel the diesel that he tried to circumvent and dodge. He was using it for himself. And I know that 13 billion naira is more. That's just what he reported. And the question is why? Why is it that the politicians that have no social consciousness, that don't care about who, that can walk past people suffering and enjoy themselves, why is it that they far outnumber the ones that are striving to make a difference? Because there are good people in politics. I don't believe that everybody is evil. But why is it that they are outnumbered? And I believe, again, that it has to do with the way we look at intelligence, the way we push intelligence as the end-all, be-all of it. And I have a few suggestions. I know they might not work per se, but I believe that if we, not work, I don't think it will work per se, but it might take a long time for it to be implemented in Nigeria. And these are my ideas and suggestions. The first thing is that we need to give scholarships, not only to intelligent people, but to families in need. Because what we do every time is that if you want a scholarship, you have to be the most intelligent. Most intelligent. You know, when I went to the US, they had all sorts of scholarships for intelligent people, and I dare say stupid people like myself. If you did community service, you got a scholarship. If your family was in need, you got a scholarship. And when you do things like that, when the government goes out of their way to give money to families in need, it shows people that there's somebody out there that cares about us. And subconsciously, when they grow up, they will strive to care about people. But when you focus only on giving money to people that are intelligent, and intelligence is currency in university and secondary school, then you grow up making people think that you only give money to people that have intelligence or have money, and you don't care about other people. So our scholarship system needs to change. We need to give more need-based scholarships in Nigeria. We don't do it. Very few. Very few. I probably saw one when I was doing a research. Only one person that says, I care about what your family is going through. I don't care about whether you're intelligent or sharp or whatever. I just want to give you a scholarship so that you have a chance, because there are people that are slow learners. The second thing is I would push for our companies, and this is the hardest one, to stop hiring based only on intelligence. I'm sick and tired of people analyzing candidates and they're like, oh, this person is a first-class upper and he's so sharp and he's so intelligent. It's not only intelligence. You know, we want to know what have they done in the community? What changes have they pushed wherever they've worked in? That should be an additional focus in terms, in comparison with their intelligence. Community service, leadership on campus is not just intelligence. And when we change the way we hire, people start believing that they have other ways to succeed in life. They just don't need to be only smart. They can do other things like serve their community. My third idea is this. Let us stop, for Christ's sake, writing down the names of noisemakers. Here's why. It irritates me. Why do we write names of noisemakers in school? Right? We spent 12 years telling a primary school student, a secondary school student, to keep quiet, don't talk. And then all of a sudden we throw them out into the world and we tell them to speak up against social change and social injustice. How is that possible? It can't happen. You know, can you imagine Gani me in school as a quiet person? Anybody? Or Patitomi, as a quiet person in school? Anybody? L5. These people speak up. We need more people to speak up in Nigeria. We have too many people that are keeping quiet because we have this definition that for you to be intelligent, be quiet and focused. Those are the good students. But they don't make a change, they don't make a difference. You look at the greats, those are the people that speak up when they see injustice. One of my biggest frustrations about Nigeria is that people sit down and keep quiet. We go home, we argue, but when it's time to speak up in public, we keep quiet. We need to stop writing down the names of noisemakers. And the last thing is this. We need to change the question. For far too long, we've been asking this question. What do you want to be when you grow up? We should change it to be, what difference do you want to make when you grow up? That is the key question we need to be asking. Because when we start asking that question, and somebody sits down in primary school and is being taught mathematics, English, social studies, and then he goes into secondary school and is being taught political science, biology, chemistry, he would always think at the back of his mind, what difference can I make when I grow up and get through this education? But what people think about right now is, what job will I get when I get to secondary school, and how much will I get paid? By changing the question, we can change the way things are in Nigeria. And we need to really change the question and figure out what the difference is that we can make. Start asking it early on. Because one thing I know is this: intelligence cannot change a nation. It hasn't changed Nigeria. What changes a nation is compassion, social consciousness. People that get up and say, I don't care how many sisters Ada has left. All I care about is if Ada is well taken care of. And my name is Ofili Ogechukwu, and I believe that that is an idea worth sharing, and that is something that we need to do. Thank you very much.